And we'll come out of the break in 5, 4, 3. All right, and we're back with Bob Meads, CEO of iQagent. All right, so we talked about augmented reality, and if you're not familiar with it or don't understand how it can be applied to a plant floor, say, you may think, well, this is kind of science fiction. I don't really understand that. So talk about what augmented reality is, but then you go a step further and you talk about practical augmented reality. So tell us all about that.
All right. Well, augmented reality is very simple. If you watch football, you know what augmented reality is. The yellow first down line that appears, that's augmented reality. A lot of tennis matches, I noticed the other day, my wife's watching tennis, and a lot of the advertisements that you see, those are augmented reality. They're not the actual signs that are there, and people pay for those. So really, augmented reality is nothing more than a live view of the world with computer-generated components laid on top of it, and then there's some relationship between the augmented components and the live components. And you can get very fancy. You can make dinosaurs on your desk, and you can, make globes you can spin around, and that's all flashy. And you see a lot of augmented reality now in advertising and, in the consumables industry. But on the manufacturing plant floor, there's a lot of applications. A lot of people do understand, hey, augmented reality is worldview with augmented components, but what they don't really get is that augmented reality provides data in context of the real world, and that's extremely powerful. It's the difference between a guy looking at schematics and looking back at the machine and trying to figure out which knob to turn, and looking at the machine and the knob lights up itself. He has to make no decision about which knob to turn. He's not going to make an error and turn the wrong knob, and I can have a less skilled worker performing this operation. Those three things are gigantic out on the plant floor. So, uses on the plant floor, we can step people through procedures by highlighting things on the machine and telling them what to do. We're going to reduce errors. We're going to be able to, have a less trained worker performing this and making less mistakes. What we do with augmented reality is basically, if we take this information, if we're showing information about a piece of equipment and record the whole thing together, now I can communicate with someone, show them the real world as well as the data that is relevant to that without actually running it through my brain and providing interpretations. So that's what augmented reality can really bring to the plant floor, and there's a lot of companies working on this right now. But what I call practical augmented reality is, basically we're not doing a lot of flash. I'm not making the data appear like it's part of the machine or floating in space. You can't spin it or do things like that, because those are really cool, but they provide no value. And if I were to provide those, then I'd have to pay some really high-end developers that charge 3 times more for my product, and it wouldn't really get us anywhere. So what we do is very cool, but it's flat. And so basically I show the equipment, I show a floating window with the data that's superimposed on it. We have the ability to record it, and it allows me to have an off-the-shelf solution where everybody else is providing libraries and things like that.
Now, it's fascinating stuff. How prevalent is it? You mentioned some other organizations are chewing on this right now. I mean, how prevalent is it? Because it strikes me that once it's installed somewhere and operators use it, they're going to go to their management and say, I'm never operating without this
right
again. I mean, is that the future of this?
Yes.
I can envision that.
Absolutely, it's the future. I feel like it's the future of the manufacturing plant floor. There's a couple of companies that I work with. Augmate does wearables and wearable management. Daiquiri, which is very big in augmented reality. They have some absolutely stunning software, in some of the plants out there. But, if you think about it, augmented reality can, allow you to step workers through their day-to-day. You have to train them less. They're going to make less mistakes. The learning curve is a lot less. And I could see very easily, companies and workers becoming very, very dependent on this because, it really does provide just, such great benefits.
I'm just envisioning the onboarding difference. And because Todd Schnick could walk into a plant floor, grab a device, and I could almost be impactful on day one.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. And the reason we're on tablets, a lot of people ask me why we're not on wearables yet, is because wearables aren't quite there. We use tablets because it gives you your nice field of view, and I can just whip it out, scan, and then boom, I've got my stuff. Google Glass was great, but it's peripheral vision. We see all these YouTube videos of, field of vision, AR, and arrows lighting up as I'm driving a forklift, and I look at a scanner, and it pops up. That's not real yet, and until we actually have that, then wearables are still going to be on the fringe. But as soon as we have that, like Daiquiri, I think's got a helmet, where you put the helmet, you got this big field of view, and you can actually interact and see things like that. Then that's really going to take it to the next level. And I think you're going to see stationary computers, stationary human-machine interfaces, paper documents and things like that are just going to go away. So it's going to be an entire paradigm shift to towards this augmented view of the plant floor.
Well, I'm envisioning if I'm an operator and my machine goes down, and we talked earlier about how expensive that can be.
Right.
I don't know if I want to look at a schematic on my Apple Watch. I think there's some reality that you need to have a device where you can actually visualize
Yes.
and see what you need to see.
Yeah, exactly. And there's now we have technology coming where I don't need a display. It's a holographic image where looking at it in the document is here in front of me, and I have full interaction. I'm not trying to look at a device display. And I think in 5 years, that's really where everything's going to be.
I would imagine probably sooner than that. But
Probably,
I don't know if Bob has anything to say about it. Well, this whole idea about enterprise mobility and all that, I mean, is really exciting. I mean, you mentioned in the top half of the show, well, when there's a machine down, I got to go get some information, then I got to go to the control room. I mean, I'm envisioning a day where there's no longer a control room.
Right.
I mean, is that where this is going to?
This is a paradigm shift that I'm seeing, and I've been on plant floor for 25 years, and there's always been a control room, and there's computers, and since PLCs came out in the early 1970s, we've had these human-machine interface HMI displays that allow the operators to interact with the plant, and there was just no device that you could walk around with. Well, now we have these devices, and so the paradigm shift I'm seeing is, why tie someone to one place in time? I don't want to have to go back to an HMI panel mounted somewhere or go back to a control room. We have this mobile device. Well, this new meme, bring your own device. I came across some research the other day. 78% of big companies said they either agreed with or embraced BYOD. Why? Because people are bringing these into a plant. And they know how to use them. They want to use them. They paid for them. They require no training. Why wouldn't a company take advantage of this? So the paradigm is going to be, mobile access to data relevant to where you're at or what you're doing. And I really think that that's the way that everything's going.
Well, can it work in any device? I mean, if I bring in my iPhone, does it work on that, or does it have to be a tablet? And then what are the possibilities of dealing with issues remotely? Let's say you're at home and you get pinged that there's an issue with a machine, or I mean, is there what kind of a functionality there in terms of remotely addressing some of these issues?
Right. Well, the first question, iQagent works on iOS devices and Microsoft devices. Mm-hmm. Those are the two big ones out on the plant floor. I'm seeing a shift really away from the iOS, more toward Microsoft, simply because the software systems that are in place in manufacturing plants are almost predominantly Microsoft. So if you have a Microsoft tablet, it's going to talk to everything. We haven't, we couldn't really go just cross-browser, cross-platform at the time because we needed the accelerometer, needed the camera, needed that hardware support, and I didn't want to dumb my software down, so I did native on iOS, I did native on Microsoft. We've had questions about Android, but there's been no one's really willing to buy it yet. But we do now. There's some other functionality we can take advantage of to be able to to go cross-platform, and we're certainly going to look at that. The second question is remote, and there are companies now working on remote assistants that use augmented reality and telecommunications. So oil rigs. So you got a guy on an oil rig. Those things go down. It's just lots and lots of money. And so you can actually point it at the equipment, and you've got a remote guy, that's dialed into your iPad, and he's he's lighting things up and say, hey, check this, do this. He's able to see and interact with you, and those are expert systems, but there are some that are out now. What we do, really 80% of the problems that we see on the plant floor are what I call, easy problems. There's a breaker trip, there's a screwdriver in the conveyor system. Things like that. Most things don't require, a lot of thought of that level of skill, and those are the 80% that I'm after. So if I've got someone at home, an engineer at home, they can dial in VPN into the plant network, pull up those points of interest. They can receive those videos coming from iQagent from the plant floor, communicate with them, and fix the problem. If it's really, hard level troubleshooting, then we're not going to be a fit. That's really the other 20%. But there are people out there hitting that 20% pretty well.
Yeah, well, we always a lot of concern on this show from people who say, well, with the advances in robotics, we're not going to need any human capital anymore. And I disagree with that.
I do too.
But the cool thing about what iQagent's doing is it's making the job easy for that human. But there's still problem solving that has to happen, and this device enables it to happen quicker, faster.
That's exactly right. It's about communication to that human expert.
It's more a communication tool than anything else.
It really is. It's a communication tool that pulls data out for the user, and it allows you to explain problems without having to type them out.
It spoon feeds the right data.
Yes.
When you need it.
Exactly. I tell people, iQagent doesn't bring any new data to the table. You already have the data. What I do is I make that data available based on where you're at or what you're working on, and it's a new thing.
Yeah, but you are collecting new data in terms of troubleshooting problems that you can then fix better. Faster.
Well, yeah, we're generating. Yes, that's a great point. We're generating these videos and this data on problems, and we can create an archive so that if the problem comes up again, they can go back and have this augmented video of how this problem was corrected. So yeah, sure, we do create those.
Well, I think it's pretty clear based on our conversation that augmented reality is a necessity in the future of manufacturing.
Yes.
I don't think there's any other conversation we got to have on it, because I think we made that very, very clear. Well, very, very cool. Bob, we're about out of time. Before I let you go, how can people contact you should they have questions, and where can they learn more about iQagent?
Well, if we just, you can go to iQagent.com, that's our website. We have several movies that show our product. There's some white papers up there. We're up on the Apple App Store and the Microsoft Store, and it's a free download. Cool thing about it, one of our taglines is you can see it work in 90 seconds. We have a simulate mode. So if you download iQagent onto your iPad, we have QR codes available. You can just request them from the website. You can scan a QR code and see exactly how it works. You can play around with the data and things like that, and you get an idea. So my office is in Alpharetta. They can also call my office, 770-754-0427.
Cool. Bob Meads, the CEO of iQagent. Again, thanks for stopping by and joining us.
Thank you, Todd.
All right.